First, making salutation to Buddha Shakyamuni for him being the radiant light to illuminate the mind of all sentient beings by dispelling all the darkness of the sentient beings. At the next, citing Acharya Chandragiri's text, Madhyamaka Avatara, that while one is endowed with the freedom of having taken a favorable states of birth in the human realm or in the Deva or Devi realm, and if we aware all the conducive factors for your Dharma practice is the obtained, and if we don't take care of the wanting to practice the Dharma, then in the future, if we are to fall to the realm of the lower realms, such as animals, hungry ghosts, helpings, and so forth, then we don't have the freedom to practice the Dharma as such that nobody can then protect us. When I speak about, as indicated by Acharya Chandrakriti, when I speak about taking favorable birth, favorable states next life, so here we should take the advantage in terms of making sure that the causes of taking the higher births is within our mind, within our own hands, in ways of embracing the 10 virtues, by staying away from the negativities of bodily, verbal, mental, and primarily with respect to harming others. We stay away from these. So this is something that we can do. And this is how we engage in the 10 virtues, so that what our next life is going to be like is going to be determined by oneself.
Oh, yeah.
As indicated by Geshe Podova, who said that if you embrace the practice of the 10 virtues, then the next life, even if you are to look for the lower realms, you will not find it, given that one has embraced the virtues. So the results that are going to be accrued is naturally going to be the wholesome births. So whereas if one engages in the 10 non-virtues, particularly with respect to harming others, then there's no way by which one can attain the favorable states in the future. Instead, the non-favorable states or the lower realms will be embraced. So the point is that it's all about the cause and effect. If you want a positive result, we have to embrace the positive causes. So here, in essence, it is like somebody who is considered a very courageous and very mighty person, while you are in the conducive environment, the place where you are familiar with. So here we are advised to be careful, to take care of, to take the utmost care. Whereas on the contrary, if you are being led by somebody bound by ropes and to the stranger place, then you are left with nothing, no power to act. So likewise, while we still have the power to engage in virtues, we advise to embrace these virtues, so that in the next lives we are bound to be the embracing the favorable states. Otherwise, once fall into the lower realms, we're left with nothing to be done.
Oh, yeah.
So this is primarily for setting a proper motivation for receiving the Dharma teachings. And the motivation, as said earlier, first step is to stay away from the engaging in 10 non-virtuous actions, so that the causes of the undesirable birth will not be accumulated. Instead, by increasing 10 virtues, one will take birth in the favorable high states of the humans and the god and goddesses. And then on top of that, one should have the motivation to eventually, by taking the birth as the human being, or in the human realm and the god and goddess realm, then one take the next step of not only eradicating the 10 non-virtues, but also to eradicate the contaminant karma's afflictions completely, by cultivating the wisdom of the selflessness, and the eradicating the attachment, all the afflictive emotions such as attachment, aversion, so forth, and thus to attain liberation for oneself, and then further to be proceeded further by thinking about all the demon sentient beings, that I must liberate all these beings from samsara, for which I need to acquire the capability or the power to liberate them by attaining the full omniscient state, for which I have to engage in the paths to attain that state. And this path entails the study, reflection, and the meditation of the minor path. So this should be the motivation on the basis of which we are to listen to the teachings.
Oh yeah.
The text which is going to be taught today is the three principal aspects of the path, and this is composed by Lama Tsongkhapa. And here it begins by saying, I bow down to the Venerable Lama. So here the Lama primarily refers to Adi Manjushri. Is the reason why this is the case is that in the essence of eloquent speech by Lama Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa very clearly indicated that all the Dharma concepts of the wisdom of emptiness, bodhicitta, and so forth, all the salient features of the Dharma, the Lama Tsongkhapa got clarified, and all these teachings primarily Lama Tsongkhapa got from Adi Manjushri. So here when it says I bow down to the Venerable Lamas, it primarily refers to Adi Manjushri, and for you can also think about your own teachers.
Yeah.
So it reads, as well as I'm able, I'll explain the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha. The first line we said, the first line meaning here, is the second line we said, the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha. So this explains a renunciation. So as for the whatever teachings or the Dhamma practice that you engage in, be it Sutra system, Tantra system, or the Mahayana or Hinayana practice, whatever that you engage in, the renunciation is the key, is the foundation. And with respect to that we should have a desire, aspiration to stay away from or to be freed, to be liberated from suffering altogether. And so how the suffering arises, this is all we need to think about the cause and effect relationship, how these miseries which we dislike, they're the results of the afflictions such as attachment, aversion, so forth, which in turn are triggered by our infatuation towards the five sensual objects and the other things, and because of which then because of which afflictions are triggered, and because of which the contaminated karmas are accumulated, thereby trapping us in samsara. And then with respect to reflect on the three kinds of the beings with three different scopes. With respect to a small scope person, the aspiration is to be aspired to get away from or be liberated from having to take birth in the lower states of the birth, the lower realms. For example, Adi Manjushri, the Adi Nagarjuna very clearly indicated that every day we need to reflect, contemplate on the demerits, on the miseries of the hot hell realm, the cold hell realm, and so forth, and the reflection on these and how the animals, how they suffer. So by reflecting on these, what can possibly take birth there is because of engaging in non-virtues. So seeing these as the resultant state, we then generate very strong aspiration not to be freed from these miseries by embracing the concomitant causes, the inclusive of the 10 virtues. Then with respect to the middle scope, people of the middle scope faculty, so they are not only that we should be liberated or freed from having to take birth in the lower realms, but also to take birth in the humans and the Deva realms as well. For the reason that even in the Deva realms, we see Deva and Deva realms, in the human realms, we see that there's one defect that we have to take birth, involuntary take birth with the contaminated aggregates. And the aggregates involuntarily we have to adopt, discard, involuntarily. These things are happening which we don't like to see them happening, and yet that is happening. In other words, wherever we take birth in the different 6 realms, we see that we are inflicted with the 3 kinds of miseries. Either the suffering, for example, in the lower realms, and then in the higher realms, like the Devan realm, we see that the suffering of the change and pervasive condition suffering, and the desire to get away from, be freed from these 3 kinds of suffering by staying away or by abandoning the causes give rise to the 3 respective sufferings, and that aspiration is required. That constitutes the renunciation.
Oh, yeah.
With respect to this renunciation, it simply means wanting to renounce, wanting to quit, wanting to be liberated from samsara, and for which we need to renounce the causal miseries of the afflictions. And this is something, renunciation is something which is required for anyone, whether you follow the Shravagayana path or the Pratik Buddha path or the Bodhisattva path. This is something which is the commonly required by all the 3 kinds of the practitioners. The 3rd line says, the path praised by the conqueror's children. Here, the conqueror's children refers to the bodhisattvas, and this path, referring to the bodhicitta, this is something which is praised by the bodhisattvas for the reason that the bodhicitta, bodhicitta is the one which accomplishes the purpose, the aims of all the beings. And to generate this bodhicitta, the foundation is great compassion. And the great compassion which wishes to get rid of the ailments, the misery, stress of other beings, and wanting to give happiness to the beings. So the compassion and loving kindness which wishes to give happiness to other beings, and these 2 things constitute the foundation of all the teachings. So in other words, these 2 practices or these 2 teachings, they subsume all other teachings of Buddha. And so here, with respect to the loving kindness, it is to view all beings the same, that irrespective of the ethnicity or the religious background and so forth, we need to be able to extend this the loving kindness towards all the beings. So it says that first we need to practice it to yourself, that it should begin from the self, be able to take care of oneself. And then just as for people like us, we need to have a sense of self-love, of self-care. And because of this, and this self-love and self-care is the foundation for all the facilities that we're able to create on the planet. For example, like the roads that we build, the aeroplanes, and the vehicles that we make to cross the oceans and so forth. So these all came into existence. The initial driving force is a love for the self, love for the sense of care for oneself. And then whereas for the ordinary beings, so this sense of the care for oneself is confined to this life. Whereas the bodhisattvas, the sense of love and affection for others, for you, in fact, that is way beyond how much we love ourselves. Bodhisattva's love for you is far beyond how much you love yourself. How much you love yourself is confined to, let's say, wanting to give things, the facilities to yourself, of confined to this life. Whereas the bodhisattvas, they have a plan, they have an aspiration, with the intense love towards you, with respect to not only giving the facilities of this life, but to give the facilities to liberate from samsara and to give you the maximum happiness of full enlightenment. So it says the Bodhisattva's the loving kindness is what far excels that of the ordinary people's loving themselves. So how to practice such intense and very the comprehensive love and affection is said that first you practice it with respect to yourself, and then extend to your family members, then expand it to your other relatives, and then to the people in the same company or the workplace, and then to your neighbors. So this is how we keep expanding it. And then finally, when the love and affection gets extended to other beings, simply on the basis of the reason that others are also sentient beings. They also want happiness, they don't want suffering. If this is something which can really resonate with yourself, it becomes innate within yourself. Just seeing that the other person, because the other person is a person or other person is a sentient being, therefore I should extend my love and affection towards the beings. If this is what you can reach, if this is a point where you reach your practice of the compassion, the intensity or the level of the practice, this is what is meant by extending the universal compassion, universal loving kindness towards all the beings. When you say the loving kindness towards all the beings, all sentient beings, doesn't mean that we have to look at each and every sentient being. That it doesn't mean that we should have the vision of each of the sentient beings within the purview of our perception. Instead, that if you're able to give the reason that, okay, that person, I have to extend my compassion and loving kindness towards this person or this being, because that person is a sentient being. If this is something which resonates so naturally, that is where you are entitled to have obtained the universal compassion or universal loving kindness.
Oh, yeah.
And with respect to bodhicitta, there are two kinds of bodhicittas. One is aspiration bodhicitta, and the other one is the engaged bodhicitta. And aspiration bodhicitta is when you first generate the bodhicitta, the desire, the aspiration to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. And the engaged bodhicitta is the having as the taking the aspiration to generate bodhicitta, then the one generates a very strong commitment that no matter what is entailed or what is required to become Buddha, like engaging in the general practice of generosity and so forth, I will be committed to do so. This should be the amount of the determination and commitment that we need to generate. And then engaging in any of these practices, that bodhicitta which accompanies that is referred to as the engaged bodhicitta. And then when we speak about bodhicitta, it is that the aspiration to become the omniscient state, which is totally freed of all the mental stains and the demerits, and having attained all the qualities, and somebody who has the cognizance of all phenomena, what is to be adopted and what is to be discarded, and to reach to that level of the accomplishment is not something that one can attain within a short period of time. Rather, it requires the long-term planning, long-term meditation. And when we think about sentient beings, say how it should be started with respect to reflect on the sentient beings for whom we are generating this bodhicitta, that go back in time, we see that no matter how much we go back in time till the innumerable beginningless state, we see that all beings have been extremely kind, loving to you, in being your very affectionate, beneficial the mothers, and also in the future, which is again where we can go at infinitum, where we have to depend on all these beings. So by contemplating on these and the realities, one should become very determined to engage in any form of bodhisattva practices, like the elements of the method, elements of the wisdom, whatever involves in me attaining Buddhahood, I will be determined to embrace these practices, engage in these practices. And the point is that We need to have a long-term plan. It should not be that, okay, this is something so huge, a Herculean task, which I cannot really do. I'm just an insignificant person. I cannot do it. This should not be the thought. Just imagine that you are a toddler or a little boy, little girl who is just learning ABC, and then this person who just starts the scratch of the education, then this person can eventually can become the acclaimed, such a renowned scholar. So if that's the case, this is something that we need to think of and then make a proper long-term plan that you should be determined that however long it may take for me to become enlightened, I'll be forever committed, determined to the practice, engaged in this bodhisattva practice. And with respect to bodhicitta, this is also referred to as the bodhicitta, which cherishes others more than oneself. And this is the one which takes us to the full awakening or the state of Buddhahood. And whereas for the Sharvakas and Preda Buddhas, and they can be freed from afflictions, they can be freed from the afflictive obscuration, they can attain nirvana, but then for that matter, they don't require bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is required for somebody to attain full awakening or Buddhahood. Then the next line, the fourth line reads, the entrance for those who desire liberation. Listen with the clear mind, you fortunate ones. So here the word fortunate ones. This word, they refers to somebody who has the merit or who has the merit to contemplate, to eradicate the miseries completely, altogether from the root. To eradicate the miseries or the sufferings completely, we need to eradicate the root cause of the miseries, and the root cause of the miseries entails a self-grasping ignorance. And then it's first we have a sense of I, viewing the self as something very independent entity, independent of the body and the mind. And then it gets extended to mine, I, then to mine. And then we see things as though these are the things of utility for me. These are my things of utility. So on that basis, then the sense of attachment to the self and things of mine and sense of aversion to the others happens. And because of this, then the miseries ensue. Whereas the fortunate ones, they want to eradicate the miseries altogether, for which the self-grasping ignorance as the root must be abandoned. And so how does the self appear to us? The self, it appears to us as though it's like an independent entity, independent, not as related to the body or the mind. When we become angry or when we feel attached to things, so how does this appear, this sense, this I, the self, appears to you? It appears as though like it is independent, unrelated to the body and the mind. And this is known as the self-grasping ignorance, which arises within us since time immemorial. And to eradicate this, we need to cultivate the wisdom, which is directly in opposition with this self-grasping ignorance with respect to the object of apprehension. So that object constitutes the selflessness, as opposed to how the self is viewed by the self-grasping ignorance. And that selflessness is also referred to as the emptiness. So those who are referred to as the fortunate ones here, these are the beings who are keen to cultivate this wisdom of emptiness or the selflessness in order to eradicate the miseries or suffering completely. And this is something that the practitioners of all the three vehicles, be it Shravakayana or Pradigayana, the Pradigabodhayana or the Bodhisattvayana or the Mahayana, all three should equally embrace this wisdom of the selflessness.
Yeah.
And then the text reads, listen to the clear mind, you fortunate ones who are not attached to the joys of physical existence. So here, the Lama Tsongkhapa claims or accepts to give teaching on these three principal aspects, and to his students, such as Tsongkhapa, the student who made this request to Lama Tsongkhapa. And so this part, up to what we have, what we have read thus far, constitutes two things. One is the author's acceptance of given the writing the composition or given the teaching, and then number two, the synopsis of the whole body of the text. The next, where it reads, listen with a clear mind, you fortunate ones, who are not attached to the joys of secular existence. Strive to make good use of leisure and opportunity, and direct your minds to the path that pleases the Buddhas. So this is the section of the author, the invoking the students or the disciples to listen to this teaching with utmost care and attention. So here, what constitutes that the students who are eligible to listen to this teaching is somebody who's not attached to the joys of secular existence. So our life in any ways, our life gets exhausted, and so therefore, if all our efforts are confined to accomplishing something of purely of this life, then we are in a way wasting our life. We are wasting this precious life. This precious life has the power and has the potential to accomplish the purpose of this life and the future lives as well. So this is the kind of the realm or the birth that we obtained to practice the Dharma, which is endowed with the 8 leisures and the 10 endowments. And the vessel or the body that we obtained in this life has tremendous potential to accomplish all what we seek. For example, like the purpose beyond this life. The two of them, the first, to acquire favorable states in the next life, and then number two, to be liberated from samsara altogether, and number three, to attain full enlightenment, Buddhahood for the benefit of sentient beings. So these beings are the who have all these intact within their being. They are referred to as the fortunate ones or the fortunate disciples. So this constitutes the invocation of the students to listen to this teaching with great respect and attention. And the verse 3 reads, without pure renunciation, an end to attraction for the pleasure of secular existence is unattainable. The craving for existence also binds beings, thus from the outset seek renunciation. So renunciation is also referred to as the initial practice, for the reason that whosoever you are, whatever kind of aspirant you are, the aspirant of Shavagana path, Pratibhuddha part of the minor path, one requires this renunciation initially. So that is this aspiration will then make you seek to be free, liberated from samsara completely. And here the third verse indicates the reason why we need to generate renunciation. And so the text says that the successes or the benefits or the facilities of samsara, when one is attached to this, then there is no way by which one can be liberated from this. And so once attached, this attachment, it takes us to accumulate all forms of karmas, be it virtuous or non-virtuous karma, and because of which then one will be bound to samsara altogether. So therefore, the first thing that we need to see is that when the renunciation is not there, then because of the truth of suffering and the truth of cause of suffering, one will be constantly be perpetuated to be bound to samsara. Next verse number. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello.
Zikla kodo zikla.
Let's say offline komedo. Offline. Those at the back, can you hear me?
Zikla
Can you sing
kodo.
there? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Online you can hear. Offline, I don't think the hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Sing it well. Those at the back, can you hear me? Ishidumla, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Next we read line 4, which reads, reverse attraction to this life by reflecting on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find and how life is ephemeral and without span. Reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking of the infallibility of karma and its effects and the miseries of samsara. Here, on the first of all, how to generate this renunciation. So it should be thought of in two ways. Generating renunciation with respect to hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Ishmael, can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Better. Okay. With respect to generating renunciation, it should be done on the based on two things. One is the renunciation with respect to this life and renunciation with respect to the future lives. First one says, a reverse attraction to this life, reflect on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find. In first place, that the life that we have obtained in this this birth, yes, it is very difficult to obtain this precious human birth. Once obtained, we some of us, we feel so attached to this, to whatever we have, the facilities and so forth that we have obtained this life. We feel so attached to this, but in reality, the lifespan is too short. There's nothing worth it for us to be attached to. So if you contemplate on this, naturally our attraction to this life will be minimized, mitigated. So then with respect to the future lives, we may aspire for a future favorable birth, such as in the god and goddess realm or in the human realm and so forth. Even if you do obtain that, the point is that then what next? What is after this? So that is totally unpredictable. So even if one obtains a favorable birth next time, but since that we have the accumulated, we have enormous amount of the karmas, not only positive, also negative karmas are there. And what kind of karma will dictate our future lives is totally unpredictable. We cannot really decide. On that basis, very scary to think of what the future is going to be like. So therefore, the point is that we need to only engage in the virtuous deeds, because the law of karma is so efficacious that negative karmas will invariably give rise to negative results, and only the positive karmas will give rise to the happy results. For example, like planting a seed, or the planting of wheat, the wheat grain, you expect only the wheat to grow and not anything else. Likewise, planting of the rice seed will only give rise to the rice and not other kinds of the crops. So this is how the law of karma operates, and because of that, we are left with, say, the reason, justification for attraction for the future lives can be mitigated on the basis of the recognition that we have enormous the pool of the positive, wealth of positive and negative karmas, and any of these things can ripen not only the virtuous karma, but also negative karmas can also ripen in the future. So therefore, we need to feel detached to the future, the aspirations as well, meaning that aspiration for the samsaric future results. So this is how we reverse our attraction to this life as well as future with respect to the cultivating renunciation. Hello, verse 5, which reads, contemplating thus, when for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence and remain intent on liberation day and night, renunciation is born in you then. When you contemplate thus, no matter where you take birth, like the very powerful the gods like Indra, Brahma, and so on, so forth, even if you take birth there, again we have to come back, meaning that one time the karma to project us into these realms will exhaust, and then even there we are inflicted with any of the three kinds of miseries: suffering, change, and pervasive condition suffering. And by contemplating on these points as indicated in verse 4, if one days and night, if one is able to generate the feeling that no matter where I take birth in samsara is something that I must have to put a stop to it. I must terminate it completely. So if that comes to us in a very spontaneous way, then this is known as the renunciation, a full-fledged renunciation. But for that matter, it requires a practice. Without a practice, we can't really have a spontaneous experience of renunciation. And the Acharya Dharmakirti in his text, Pramana Vartika, is very clearly indicated that all the good qualities, like compassion and so forth, they need to be enriched, cultivated, and then experience it in the form of the spontaneous experience only through cultivation and practice. And we may feel that when we study something or practice, we may feel that, okay, there's no progress at all within me. But in reality, this is the only way, through the constant study, reflection, meditation, then we can expect. And okay, those at the back, can you hear me? So this says, it is only through this practice. It is only through this practice that we can expect to generate these spontaneous experience of renunciation. And as said earlier, that every time we read something, we study something, contemplate, meditate, the potential is being reinforced within us. Potential is being gathered within us. That this is the meaning of the progress. Progress happens only through the practice. Next is verse number 6, which reads, renunciation, if not tempered by pure-minded bodhicitta, however, will not bring forth the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of bodhicitta. So what is said, says here is that having generated renunciation, but if the bodhicitta is not what complements this renunciation, it only takes us to the liberation of the of Shravakas and Prabhubuddhas, and not at all to the unsurpassed enlightenment. So if you really want to accomplish the unsurpassed enlightenment, then it must be motivated by bodhicitta, which wishes to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. The battery of the battery source.
That's why.
Goes. What is the interesting issue? No, that is.
That's all. That's why.
No.
That's all.
Reading from verse number 7. Swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by strong bonds of karma so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance. The first swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers. Just as the very powerful river, we cannot really imagine to move against the direction of the power of the river. So likewise, this is how the different forms of the miseries, different forms of causes of miseries, and they swept us in samsara, tied by strong bonds of karma, so hard to undo. And the moment that we are tied in this physical form by the karma, so we cannot really do anything to get away from this, and caught in the iron net of the self-grasping, which is the root of the miseries. This is like the metaphor given is the iron net or the iron cage, where you are trapped and completely enveloped, but in the process we have been completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance. And the born and reborn in boundless cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries referring to the suffering, which is what manifests here as suffering, and suffering of change, which although one experiences as happiness at the moment, but it changes to miseries. And finally, the pervasive condition suffering, referring to our being in the form of the aggregates, which are propelled by the afflictions and the contaminant karmas. And this one is referred to as the pervasive condition suffering, for the reason that the first two sufferings, they don't really pervade the whole samsara. And whereas in this particular suffering, the fact that we are under the sway of the contaminant karma's afflictions, this is something which pervades all the three realms. And whereas the suffering, we see that it is not really there in the form of formless realm, and the suffering of change. Likewise, in most of the cases of form and formless, we don't see it there. We only see the neutral feelings, and so the suffering that you see, which truly pervades in all three realms, is a pervasive condition suffering in the form of our being in this aggregate, which are compelled by the contaminant karma's afflictions. The next is number 10. One who sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana, and destroys all focuses of apprehension, has entered the path which pleases the Buddhas. One who sees the infallible cause and effect. So infallible cause and effect, this is very important for us to be convinced of, or can conviction in, as to with respect to the cause and effect pertaining to the afflictive cause and effect, or the virtuous cause and effect, when the afflictions will only give rise to the miseries, and the virtues give rise to happiness. And the efficacy of cause and effect, where you plant rice grain, and you expect only rice growing, not any other reigns. So the infallibility and the efficacy of the cause and effect is something that we need to remember. On that basis, then while we have while conviction, the efficacy of cause and effect is built, at the same time, we're able to see that the true existence is being negated, where it says that and destroys all focuses of apprehension, meaning that focuses of apprehension referring to the true existence or intrinsic reality. If we're able to destroy that by negating this intrinsic reality, which the self-grasping ignorance views it to be like. So if that happens, then this is what makes all the Buddhas and the enlightened beings such as Buddha and Arya Nagarjuna finding the ultimate purported concept of emptiness. This is what makes the Buddhas what pleases the Buddhas. 11. Appearances are infallible, dependent arising. Emptiness is understanding that is free of assertions. As long as these two are seen as distinct, you have not yet realized the intent of the Buddhas. The first appearances here refers to the appearances in the form of conventional truth. And on the level of the conventional truth, we see that there's infallible cause and effect relationship or infallible dependent arising. And then on the other hand, we have the emptiness side where the understanding that is free of assertion of true existence. So when these two things are seen as dichotomous, meaning that when you see the conventional truth or the appearance of dependent origination, we fail to posit what emptiness is. And when you posit emptiness, you fail to account for the infallible dependent arising. If that happens, when you see that these two sides are seen as distinct or dichotomous, you have not realized the intent of the Buddha, and you have not really you realize the concept of emptiness as initially taught by the Buddha himself and later commented upon by Arya Nagarjuna and these enlightened masters. 11. Appearances are infallible. 12. When these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere sight of infallible dependent origination concurrently destroys all modes of grasping through definite discernment, at that time the analysis of the profound view is perfected. So here we need to see the chemistry between the dependent origination and emptiness. Dependent origination where the cause and effect, the infallible functionality of the world on the one hand, and on the other hand, the emptiness of intrinsic reality. So as opposed to how it was presented in verse number 11, if somebody is able to see the complementarity of the two, where understanding of dependent origination aids us or reinforces our understanding of emptiness, saying that because things are of dependent nature, there's no intrinsic reality. And by seeing the emptiness of nature, one is able to, because that things are empty of intrinsic reality, things exist by dependence, by the relationally, and therefore the dependent origination is very much the acceptable. So when you see the complementarity of these 2 points, at that point, then one is said to have the consummated or has the culminated in the understanding of the emptiness as presented by the Prasangika.
Number
13. Furthermore, appearances refute the extreme of existence. Emptiness refutes the extreme of non-existence. When you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you're not captivated by the view of extremes. Here, the appearance refers to the conventional realities, such as the house. So house exists only by dependence on its different parts. So it cannot really have the existence on its own independent existence. And by seeing that things exist by dependence, then intrinsicality is rejected. So emptiness refuses the extreme of non-existence. So by seeing emptiness, is not just the nothingness, rather empty of true existence, empty of independent existence. So connoting a dependent existence or existence by the relationally. So this is what one sees. So when you see these two things in the as compatible to each other, then it helps us, it reinforces our conviction in the efficacy of the cause and effect. So if that happens, then the possibility or the chances for one to be captivated by the wrong views, by the view of the extremes, can be avoided.
别说了，不是，
Okay. The Arya Nagarjuna and the so basically the discussion about this
yeah,
is between the realists who advocate who advocate objective existence or true existence, inherent existence, versus prasangikas who reject intrinsic existence. Arya Nagarjuna in his text Mula Madhyamaka Karika, or the Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way, chapter 24, Arya Nagarjuna very clearly indicated the position of the realists, who the propounders of intrinsic reality, who said that if things are empty of true existence, then you cannot posit the arising and ceasing, in which case the Four Noble Truths cannot be posited for you, or you cannot account for the Four Noble Truths. And whereas the Arya Nagarjuna, holding the Prasangika view, rejected them by saying that if things do exist intrinsically, then you cannot account for their rising and ceasing, and because of which you cannot account for the Four Noble Truths. So here, the intrinsic existence, inherent existence, subjective existence, existence from his own side, or self-existence, they all refer to the same point. And so, as indicated by Bodhisattva Deva in the 400 verses, where he said that the intrinsic or the independent existence is what is referred to as the self-existence. In reality, things exist only by dependence. There's no independent existence. Things exist by dependence on the coming together of various parts and coming together of the basis of designation and coming together of these things, and then labels given, and then the thing is posited to be existent. For example, like the self, the I, say, is nothing but a constitute of the body and the mind. And the bodies, while the body and the mind individually, they are not the self, but when the two things come together, then the self is imputed. And whereas there's no independent self besides the body and the mind. So in the earlier days, in the olden times, the example of the chariot is very commonly given. Nowadays, there are so many more examples of the aeroplanes, computer, and so forth. For example, like the aeroplane is made of numerous parts, like the external the body, the internal machines, and there's so many wires involved, and the pilot is also required. So only through these factors coming together, then we talk about the aeroplane taking flight. And independent of these, then there's nothing, this aeroplane taking flight. And if any of the amongst these parts, if any damage happens to one of them, then we say aeroplane is damaged. So this is the conventional, this is how things operate or function on the conventional level. And in the conventional world, this is very clearly indicated in the different Madhyamaka treatises that the conventional truth is to be posited only on the basis of how things are accepted on the conventional world, and we cannot really analyze deeper than or beyond what the conventional world accepts. So if you do that, if you try to analyze beyond that, beyond what the conventional entails, and then you will not find anything. So this is where with respect to the conventional phenomena, it's advised not to analyze beyond the conventions, and if you do that, it says that it will then damage, or it will then bring about the non-sensicality of the conventional things. So in other words, that there's nothing which exists intrinsically. Things come to existence only by a way of dependent origination with respect to the self. Each one of us as a person, we are nothing but made of the five aggregates. When your mind is unhappy, we say that I'm happy, I'm very unhappy today. So it's actually related to one of the aggregates. There is no way by which we can identify self. Keeping aside the five aggregates, you will not find anything as a self which feels unhappy today. So, or we say that, or somebody is very short-tempered, or somebody is meditating. So even all these attributes are to be described in relation to the aggregates, in relation to the parts which constitute the self, and there's nothing to be identified as self independent of these parts. So this is how the realist posit the self to be like something, the self existing as independently. On the contrary, Prasangika rejects this by saying that self exists only by way of projection and imputation. One thing that needs to be added here is what is indicated in 400 verses by Bodhisattva Deva, where he said that the things being deprived of independent, the existence is what is referred to as the selflessness. And this is further explained by Acharya Chandragirti in his text, where he said that the independent existence here does not connote independence of the causes and conditions, but the independence of other objects, other things. And then on that basis, there's something which is independent of other things or other factors, and that should be independent. If that is the case, this is something which is to be negated, and the negation of this independent reality is of two forms: substance of person and substance of phenomena. And with respect to this, where Acharya Chandragirti indicated the independence of other, what does it mean by other? So this is further explained by Lama Tsongkhapa, indicating that the other here refers to not just any other thing, but with respect to it is connoting the conventional mind, the mind labeling mind or projecting mind, mind which designates. So anything which exists independent of this designated mind is referred to as intrinsic reality, and negation of such intrinsic reality is referred to as the selflessness. So this is how is explained by Lama.
What?
And the last verse reads, "O my child, once you have thus realized the points of the three principal paths, seek solitude and cultivate strong determination and quickly reach the final aspired goal." So here, Lama Tsongkhapa, when he said, "Oh my child," it refers to his student, like Tsawon Bhumavathapa. So this is when he said, "Oh my child," there's the expression of feeling of the closeness and the endearment there. So this is how we are to practice the dharma, and this is something the contemplations or the points are not to be left alone on the level of the studies. So once we have studied, we need to translate them into analysis or the contemplation, and this contemplation will gradually give rise to the conviction within yourself that what is said here is absolutely the real or true. And this conviction, the more you contemplate, the more the deeper the conviction becomes, and whatever the conviction that you get is to be translated into meditation. So we all have that capacity. Our mind has the capacity to grow, and for that matter, the contemplation is extremely important. It is for this reason that the meditation is of two kinds: the single point meditation and analytical meditation. And most of except for these some rare cases where we require single pointed meditation, where we require not to contemplate but to just focus on the single pointedly focus on the object. Otherwise, the majority of what you find taught in the sutras and the treatises are like meditation on the compassion, loving kindness, emptiness, impermanence, so forth. They all require analysis, without which you cannot really succeed in these practices. So the analysis is something so important, and we are never to underestimate ourselves. We all have the capacity to analyze, and we can really, this analysis can really get the power of this to enrich, to reinforce the understanding, the conviction in these concepts, and then the fact that we all have the Buddha nature, that we can do it. It's not that some can do and some cannot do. We have the Buddha nature, our mind being of the nature of the clear knowing. If we tune our mind in the wrong direction, it can really be bad. If we tune our mind in a good direction, positive direction, it can really grow exponentially in the virtues and the positivities or the contemplation of these practices. So therefore, as indicated as the advice by Lama Tsongkhapa, that engaging after gaining the total knowledge of this, and then engage in contemplation and meditation. This is something very crucial we all can do. There's the tendency for some people to say that, oh, I already know this. So they just have read something and then so that I know this, which means that they're only happy, complacent with what they have read or learned, and they're not keen on reflection and meditation. Whereas in the text, you see a constant reference to the metaphor of the sugar cane, where outside the skin, on the outside cover of the skin, so this is not the sugar cane. So some people just touch that part, and this is like learning. You are yet to contemplate, you are yet to feel the efficacy, the conviction is yet to be gained. And the real sugarcane is what is inside. So remove the cover or the peel the skin, and then inside you will see the real sugarcane. So real sugarcane is a metaphor for contemplation and meditation. So therefore, all of us, it is very crucial for us to study and constantly contemplate on what you've studied and whatever contemplated and conviction that you've gained, to put them into your practice, constant practice, refer to as meditation. And then this is what is I personally feel that I'm very fortunate that I'm here and then sharing with you the dharma, and the dharma, holding the dharma or preserving the dharma, it can be seen in two forms. One is the preserving dharma in the form of imparting the scriptural teachings, and then number two is impart the holding the dharma in the context of the manifesting these learnings in your spiritual realizations. So these are only two ways by which to preserve the dharma. And we also talk about, okay, I've met with the Buddha Dharma. Meeting with the Buddha Dharma makes sense only when one study, reflect, and meditate on these the topics. So with this in mind, I'm extremely happy to be with you here, and thank you so much. And Geshe Dorje to all of you. Okay, we'll do a quick end direction prayer, short one, short direction prayer. Page 52. Page 52. Given that we're page 52, just the 3 verses. So let us all pray. We are very, very extremely fortunate, despite our teacher Venerable Geshe Yeshe Thab-khe, despite being very busy, and also with that the travels to Ladakh recently, and then now going to Varanasi and also to Debunasana Monastery. We have been extremely extremely meritorious